The 2024 United States Grand Prix made history in Formula One as one of the season's most controversial races. While Ferrari dominated up front with an impressive 1-2 finish, the world's attention shifted to the intense battle between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. A fierce contest that culminated in a controversial penalty reignited the debate over the consistency of the stewards' decisions, potentially altering the course of the championship. In this video, we'll dive deep into the controversy that shook the paddock. We'll analyze every angle of the epic battle between Norris and Verstappen, from the start to the controversial incident on lap 52. We'll take a close look at the controversial 5-second penalty given to Norris and the reasoning behind this decision. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future analysis. Now, let's get to it. The battle between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen at the 2024 United States GP will be remembered by Formula One fans for a long time. The duel began right at the start, with Norris on pole position and Verstappen beside him on the front row. The British McLaren driver got a good start, but hesitated slightly while braking for turn 1, opening a gap that Verstappen, with his characteristic aggressiveness, didn't let slip. The Dutchman dove inside, forcing Norris to adjust his line. Both drivers ended up exceeding track limits. This initial moment set the tone for the rest of the race, with Norris dropping to 4th and having to fight his way back. As the race progressed, Norris demonstrated impressive pace. McLaren's strategy of making a later pit stop gave Norris the advantage of fresher tires in the final stages of the GP. With 15 laps to go, the Brit began to pressure Verstappen for 3rd place. The tension peaked on lap 52 of the 56-lap race. Approaching turn 12, one of the most challenging areas of the Circuit of the Americas, Norris made a bold move on the outside. Verstappen, known for his relentless defense, didn't give an inch. The two drivers went side by side, pushing the limits of grip and beyond. At this critical moment, both cars exceeded track limits. Norris, with the extra momentum from his fresher tires, managed to complete the overtake, but did so with all 4 wheels beyond the white line marking the track boundary. Verstappen, on the other hand, also went off track while trying to maintain his position. This spectacular move, which under normal conditions would be celebrated as one of the season's most thrilling moments, became the spark for a controversy that dominated post-race discussions and had significant implications for the championship. Within minutes, a decision was made that would change the outcome of the race and fuel a heated debate. Lando Norris received a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. This swift decision from the stewards generated a wave of controversy for several reasons. Firstly, both drivers had gone off track during the maneuver, raising questions about why only Norris was penalized. Secondly, many argued that Verstappen had forced Norris off while defending his position aggressively. Finally, the speed of the decision, seemingly without consulting the involved drivers, was questioned by several teams and experts. Norris, who crossed the finish line in 3rd place, ended up dropping to 4th after the penalty was applied. The British driver finished just 4.1 seconds ahead of Verstappen, which meant that the 5-second penalty was enough to swap their final positions. McLaren's reaction was immediate and emphatic. Team principal Andrea Stella stated, "My view is that the way the stewards interfered in a beautiful piece of racing was inappropriate because both cars went off the track, so both gained an advantage." Stella argued that the decision was rushed and that the stewards should have reviewed the incident more carefully after the race. Norris, visibly frustrated, shared his perspective. "If Verstappen goes off track, then clearly he went in too hard and also gained an advantage from what he did. I don't make the rules, obviously." The British driver questioned the consistency of the decisions, mentioning previous incidents where Verstappen was not penalized for similar actions. On the other hand, Verstappen and Red Bull strongly defended the stewards' decision. The Dutch driver stated, "It's very clear in the rules. Outside the white line, you can't overtake. I've been penalized for this before. I lost my podium this way at the 2017 US GP." Christian Horner, Red Bull's team principal, described the penalty as a slam dunk, arguing that it was a clear and indisputable decision. This divergence of opinions between the drivers and teams involved only intensified the debate over the application of the rules in Formula One. leading to questions about the consistency and clarity of the regulations. The controversy surrounding Norris's penalty was not an isolated incident at the 2024 United States GP. In fact, it became the focal point of a broader debate about the consistency of the stewards' decisions. Throughout the race weekend in Austin, several incidents raised questions about the uniformity in the application of the rules. One of the most discussed cases was the incident at the start between Verstappen and Norris. When the Dutchman forced Norris off in turn 1, many expected an investigation. However, the stewards chose not to take any action, classifying it as a typical first-lap racing incident. This decision stood in stark contrast to the penalty applied to Norris later in the race. Another notable example occurred when Verstappen had a similar incident with Carlos Sainz, also at turn 12. In this case, as in the start, no investigation was opened. The lack of action in these cases, compared to the quick penalty for Norris, left many in the paddock perplexed. The inconsistency became even more evident when George Russell, a Mercedes driver, received a 5-second penalty for forcing Valtteri Bottas off track. Many observers considered this incident less severe than the battle between Verstappen and Norris, yet it still resulted in a penalty. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff was particularly critical in his post-race comments. "It's inconsistent," Wolff said. "I think with Valtteri it wasn't even a position battle. We saw some incidents that were exactly the same and weren't penalized. Getting this penalty for racing positions with Russell is just odd and bizarre." Wolff even suggested the possibility of bias in the decisions, a serious accusation that further heightened the tension in the paddock. Norris himself expressed his frustration with the apparent lack of consistency. "The stewards obviously can't make up their minds for a few laps. It's not an easy decision, otherwise it would have come a bit sooner." The British driver questioned the decision-making process, arguing that the stewards should have more time to analyze complex incidents and hear all parties involved. These inconsistencies in the stewards' decisions raised important questions about the arbitration process in Formula One. Many in the paddock began calling for greater transparency in the decision-making process and clearer guidelines on how the rules should be applied in different racing situations. Some suggested the need for a permanent panel of stewards, rather than the current system where stewards change every race. Others proposed introducing more advanced technology to aid in decisions, similar to VAR in soccer. The FIA, Formula One's governing body, is now under pressure to address these concerns. The debate over consistency in the stewards' decisions will likely remain a hot topic in the upcoming races, with teams and drivers demanding more clarity and fairness in the application of the rules. And what about you? What do you think? Are the current rules fair, or do they need a review? How would you have judged the incident between Norris and Verstappen? Leave your comment below, and let's continue this crucial debate for the future of Formula One. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth analyses of the F1 world. See you at the next race.